Welcome back, everybody. Did you have a good lunch? Yeah? All right, let's see how many of you managed to do their task. Everybody who met someone they didn't know before during lunch, raise your hand. Okay, seems like 80%. We have to go to 100% by the end of the day. You have one more coffee break left. Now, before I announce our next speaker, I just want to tell you that we are hosting a networking reception tonight. The place is Memento at the National Palace of Culture, NDK. And speakers and VIP ticket holders can join us at 7 o'clock, and the event will be open for everybody else at 8:30. So please join, let's talk, let's meet there. Now our next speaker comes from Superhuman Limited, Louisa Heinrich.
Thank you.
Welcome on stage.
Hi, everybody. Right, so the coveted after-lunch spot. I'm hoping I can keep you all awake. If you start looking like you're going to drift off, I'll just shout really loudly. They asked me to talk about marketing, and I said no, because I don't like talking about marketing. I think marketing implies this need to somehow swindle people, fool them into doing what you want them to do or buying what you want them to buy. I think that if you make a great thing, and it has real value for people and real meaning for people, then all you have to do is tell them about it. So that's what I'm going to talk to you about, is how you tell people your story. Stories are part of our DNA. They're really, really deeply embedded in the meaning of being human. All throughout human history, we tell each other stories. One of my great idols, Joseph Campbell, who's an anthropologist, he says that stories are the way that we deal with the fact that we all die. When we tell stories, and we leave them behind, they live on after us. They're a little bit of immortality. And I think that that's why we're all so addicted to social media, to Facebook, to Twitter, to Instagram, to Pinterest, to all of these little ways that we can tell stories. We tell stories to each other all day, all the time. And that's why it feels so great when somebody that you admire, when somebody that you think is cool, retweets you or tweets you back. Because that little 140-character story that you just put into the world, somebody else thought was cool enough that they're now going to tell it to all of their friends and everybody that they know. So stories are an incredibly compelling part of what it means to be human. And they're how we understand the world around us. They're how we understand what we're meant to be doing in the world. They're how we understand each other. And they're how we make decisions. They're how we decide what we like, what we hate. And the stories that we like the best, we pass on. So instead of thinking about how you're going to market your product, how you're going to sell your product, how you're going to sell it to an investor, how you're going to sell it to a customer, think about how you're going to tell this story of what your startup does. Because this is what you want. You want to make people feel strongly about what it is that you're doing. That's when they will give you money, either to buy your product or to use your product or to invest in you. And in order for that to happen, a couple of things need to be in place. First, obviously, the story has to be good. Good stories last forever. Good stories never get old. We never get tired of Little Red Riding Hood. We still tell it to our kids, even though it's 300 years old. And in startup terms, having a good story means you've made something meaningful. You've solved a problem for people. You've made something better. You've made something fun. You've made something entertaining. You've made something less painful that used to be more painful. Wherever the value is in the thing that you're doing, that's what you focus on. That's the heart of your story. That's what makes it a good story. It also has to be true. There's no point in going out and claiming that you solved the problems of the universe when actually you haven't. Let's face it, that new iPhone app is not going to save the world, not all by itself. But it probably made somebody's day a little bit brighter. So you need to don't be afraid to focus on something small that's really meaningful to people. There's nothing wrong with something being small. There's just something wrong with things being not true. And you can get away with things being not true for quite a long time, but you will eventually, very likely, get caught. You also have to make sure that you're telling the story to the right people. When you tell the story to the right people, to the people who are interested, who want to hear that kind of story, want to hear the kind of story that you're telling, they will be all ears. They will be absolutely rapt with attention. If you tell it to the wrong people, they're probably not going to be as happy to hear it. So if you're going out and marketing a technology product to grandmothers, well, a very geeky technology product to grandmothers, they're probably going to look a little bit more like this and a little bit less like Our Happy Little Mermaid. And finally, and most importantly, you have to tell your story well. And some of that has to do with confidence, and some of that has to do with how good your story actually is, but some of it has to do with how you construct it and put it out into the world. And I'm going to show you a few little techniques for telling your story well. The first way to tell a story well is to get people involved in the thing that you do. And there's been a couple of examples of this out in the world recently. So VW, who are really into having fun inventing cool shit, did this campaign called The Fun Theory, where they went out to the world and they said, hey people, we love making cool shit. You love making cool shit too, let's do some stuff together. And so people submitted their ideas for cool shit that they want to invent on Twitter, and VW got together with them and made the cool shit. Brilliant. Schick has now taken photobombing to the next level and decided to do razor bombing. So they're having a competition on social media about who can do the best razor bombing. And there's loads of these. They're actually really funny. I was watching them really late into the night the other night. But these are really inexpensive, really nice, really simple little ways to get a story out, to get people engaged with it. And they work really, really well. However, when this goes wrong, you wind up with some really, really frightful things. So the New York City Police Department put out a tweet a while ago. Have you guys seen this? Yeah, okay, a couple of you have. So for those of you who haven't, the New York City Police Department put out a call on Twitter a while back and said, hey, feel good about cops, take a picture of you with a cop. And so, you know, this is what they expected, these sort of happy, happy photos. And what they got instead was lots and lots of photos of police brutality. And so this is this is not doing it right, okay? You have to tell the right story, you have to tell it to the right people, and you have to tell it well. So in this case, this was not the right way to tell the story. They were trying to tell the wrong story to the wrong people, and it backfired massively. Another way that you can get a story out there is to get involved with whatever's happening in the world right now. There's a term for this. My friend John Burkhart calls it newsjacking. This is a really, really great example. So Beats by Dre, who were kind of frozen out of the actual World Cup advertising, they made these videos. I think, has anybody here not seen these? Wow, a lot of people haven't seen this. Jesus, okay. So Beats by Dre headphones. Basically, loads of the players on loads of the squads wear these all the time anyway, and they went out and they made these little videos called The Game Before the Game. And sometimes they were videos of the parents of the players giving them advice before the game, getting them all psyched up. And sometimes they were videos of the players in the locker room having conversations, getting each other all psyched up. The idea is that a lot of the game is played before the game, and they distribute these on the magical interwebs instead of on the broadcast because they weren't allowed to. And these got, as of the other day, almost 25 million hits. So they went completely viral. They went all around the internet several times. And what I think is really interesting is that people are still using them now. They're still using the hashtag now. So this is what happens when you tell a really good story that's attached to something that people already care a lot about, that people are already involved with. Another sort of smaller, quieter example is Oreo, who, when there was a big blackout in New York, they just released this. You can still dunk in the dark. So it was a really quick graphic. They put it out on Twitter. It went around the world twice. And yeah, this is what happens when you tell a story that involves itself in what's already going on in the world. However, this can also go terribly, terribly wrong. Yes. Come on. So, inappropriate newsjacking. There's loads of these. It was really hard to choose finalists for this presentation. But I really like this one from Pizza Express. Congratulations on your baby. How about naming it Pizza? Okay. This one's also great. SpaghettiOs, let's celebrate Pearl Harbor. Exactly. I can't even remember what I picked as the third one. Oh yeah, the Golf Channel. The Golf Channel tried to hijack Martin Luther King Day by asking people to write in over Twitter about what they have a dream about, and so people just started basically insulting and abusing them. So this is what happens when it goes wrong. This is telling a story at the wrong time, telling an inappropriate story, trying to hitch your story to things that are inappropriate or that aren't relevant to it or that nobody believes you to be a part of. Another way to get a story out is to make a connection with something that people feel really strongly about already. So probably the best at this is Dove. They're incredible. They've been doing the campaigns for natural beauty for years now. And I don't know if you guys have seen this one, but they did a video. They got a sketch artist who used to work for I think the FBI. And he brought women in. You can see there's a curtain there. So he couldn't actually see the women. And first, he asked the woman to describe herself. He would ask her very specific questions about her face, her features, etc. And he drew based on the description. And then she left, and someone else came in who had met her and described the same woman. And so he did these two sketches, and when you look at them side by side, you see that you can kind of tell that they're the same person, but the one on the left is how she sees herself. The one on the right is how somebody else saw her. And you can see the one on the right is much more attractive than the one on the left. And the idea here is that women don't think that they're beautiful, and Dove wants you to think that you're beautiful. This is a very, very personal thing for women. So this went massively viral really, really fast. In its first month, the video was viewed 14 million times. So this is what happens when you connect with something that people feel really, really powerfully and strongly about. And when it goes wrong, it also goes terribly, terribly wrong. So this, I actually can't believe they did this, but the World Wildlife Federation, yeah, all you have to do is look at it. It's one of the most offensive things I've ever seen. The text at the top says the tsunami killed 1,000 times the people that 9/11 did. So they've just got all these airplanes flying into skyscrapers in New York. Brilliant campaign, right, guys? So yeah, I can't even tell you anything that's not wrong about this. My point is that it doesn't always work. You can't always use this. Another technique, yeah, again, not one to be used by the NYPD, is to let the controversy go, right? So if you have a product like Marmite that some people love and some people hate, like hate with a bloodthirsty passion, I know nobody who feels sort of meh about Marmite. You either adore it or you want to murder the person who invented it, basically. And so Marmite have built all of their campaigns around this for years now. And it's shocking how into it people get. People redesign their logos. When Margaret Thatcher died, Marmite made a special edition jar with her picture on it. They're brilliant, and they don't care that loads of people hate them. They embrace that completely, and they let people voice their rabid hatred and have this battle out in the public domain. And it keeps them top of mind. It keeps them active. It keeps their story out there in the world. This also can go terribly, terribly wrong. And I just read an article on Vice the other day that called this the worst advertising campaign in the history of time, and I think they might be right. So Andrex is toilet tissue. It's a toilet tissue brand in the UK. And they have decided to do this campaign around, are you a scruncher or are you a folder? And they have this whole series of unbelievably creepy videos of people talking about how they wipe their asses. No word of a lie. This is for real. These are going out on television and on the internet. They are serious. And then they have this like weird little thing about how to recognize a scruncher or a folder, so that like you find yourself walking around all day and like, I don't want to think about how people wipe their asses, but now I cannot get this out of my head. It's evil. It's horrifying. Yeah. So all of these things can go horribly, horribly wrong. So when in doubt about how to tell your story or which story you should tell or how to get it out there in a way that's not going to offend somebody and that's going to reach the people that you want to reach, you need to stay focused. And the only thing that I have ever found that it's worthwhile to stay focused on is people. Because people are the heart of every system. It doesn't matter what you do. If you make a product, it is people who will pull money out of their pockets and buy it, or who will give you data, or who will give you attention. It is people who will invest in you, or not. If you have a brand, it is people who will love that brand and buy that brand and believe in it and pass it around to all of their friends, or not. And if you run a company, it is people who will get up out of bed in the morning and go into the office and do their absolute best, or not. So if you have any kind of strategy that doesn't focus on people, you're doing it wrong. If you focus on people and tell them the story of what you're doing for them, with them, you won't have to do marketing. They will love you. They will understand. And that's all I've got to say. Thank you.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.